Today I'm going to be answering 101 different questions about dog training. I put out a post on Insta and asked for a lot of your questions that you might be having. And also I went online and I thought back to other dogs I've trained and the questions them owners have had. And I put them all into this list. So we've got 101 different questions to answer. Let's get to it. Now, question one, when should I start training my puppy? Now, this is one of the things where a lot of people go wrong. When you get a puppy, naturally you get overexcited. There's the novelty. Everything's fun and exciting. So you just forget about the training and wait till they're older and you got to worry about it then. With a puppy, you want to train them as soon as they come into your house. And I don't mean you got to teach them sit and down and all that sort of stuff. I mean you got to show them what boundaries you have. If they come into your house and they jump up and you're like, they're just a puppy, it's fine, they can jump up. One day they're not going to be a puppy and one day it's not going to be cute. So if that's a boundary you want to have in the future, as soon as they come into your house, jumping up stops. Same with if you want them to be sleeping in a crate. That's got to start day one. You can't let them come to your house for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then worry about putting them in a crate. Because now they've just had a month worth of learning that you don't have to sleep in the crate. So it's going to be a lot harder for you. So just, especially if it comes to boundaries, as soon as they come into your house, that's when you want to start working on it. Now, question two, what's the first thing I should teach a new puppy? Now, we've kind of just gone over this, but it's boundaries. But let's say after boundaries, after you taught that, what you need to teach a dog, the first thing is lead manners. For a dog, a lead walk isn't just, we're going somewhere to stretch your legs. It's, we're a pack, we're going somewhere, we're migrating together, we're going somewhere together. So a lot of the communicating that a pack will do is out on a walk. So they'll show who the leader is, they'll show who they have to listen to, they'll show what everyone's job is. So if you can master the walk with your dog as early as possible, you're showing them that you're the leader, so they have to listen to you, they have to follow you. And also, when they're unsure of something, they can look to you for guidance. So instead of reacting at a dog over there, they'll look to you and think, well, that dog's weird. What we doing? Oh, he's calm, he's relaxed. Okay, we ain't got to stress about it. So like I said, after the boundaries, then it comes to lead manners. And then after that, worry about the sits, the downs, and all that flashy stuff. Question three, how do I stop my puppy biting? Now, this is something that a lot of dogs will grow out of, but you don't want to rely on them growing out of it because some dogs don't grow out of it. What I like to do is, we call it, you want an inch, so we're going to give you a mile. Basically, what they do is when they bite you, they're nipping whatever, they're doing it out of play, they just want to instigate play. But what I do is I push my hand further in. So they're biting, and then I push it more in. All it does is make it uncomfortable with them biting you. They're doing it for something positive. They want engagement or they want to play or whatever. Now it's turned into a negative, so now they don't want to do it no more. Now, question four, how long should puppy training sessions be? With a puppy, you've got to be fun. Well, with any dog, you've got to be fun, especially when you're first teaching something. With a puppy, especially because their attention span's so short. What you need to do, when I trained Diesel, I had him fully trained by 12 weeks old. All his sessions were about 5 to 8 minutes each. That was it. As soon as he started to taper it off, as soon as he started to lose his focus, whatever, the training stopped. Because if we're training when he's either on autopilot, so he knows what he's supposed to do, but his head's not there, then he's not learning. Or if he's getting bored and distracted, then he's still not learning. And also when he thinks back to a session, he remembers that part of it. He's boring, don't want the treats no more, he wasn't fun. So when you're doing a training session with any dog, but especially a puppy, make sure you keep it short, fun, and engaging. Now, question five, should I let my puppy sleep in my bed? No. No, you shouldn't. So many people ask me this, and especially when they're a pup, you want to have them around you all the time. You want to do this. But like we said in question one, you need to be putting them boundaries in place straight away. When they're older, you don't want them in your bed with you. They're going to be pushing you all over the place. They're going to get bigger and all of that. You want to show them straight away in a crate or in your bed, you can sleep separate. As well, because something that happens, dogs are naturally pack animals. They want to be in a group. So unless you teach them separation, unless you teach them that it's all right to be separate, they're gonna panic when you do leave for work or for something else. So the more you can kind of just add situations in your life where this just happens. So like it's bedtime, so you're going over there, I'm going over here, but we'll see each other in the morning. Or like I said earlier, crate training. Go in there whilst I go in the kitchen to make some food, and then I'll come back and I'll let you out. It's this separation that teaches them that it's all right to be away from you. And this is why a lot of lockdown dogs have separation anxiety, because they were so used to seeing their owner every single day. Now that work started up again, the owner's leaving, they don't think nothing new, but the dog has never lived a life where the owners had to leave for hours at a time, so they panic. Question number six, when can my puppy go outside? Now, we always say after the second jab. From what I've heard, the first jab covers them about 80%, but we always say wait for the second jab, then they're pretty much fully covered, then you can bring them out more. But when you do take them out, make sure that you're not over exercising them, especially if they're a large breed. We say about 5 minutes per month they've been alive, twice a day. So if you've got a Rottweiler that's 8 months old, 5 minutes for 8 months is 40 minutes, and you can do that twice a day. This is because their joints haven't properly formed yet. When dogs are younger, their forms are in like soft cartilage. If they do too much heavy impact stuff and they're out for too long, it could start to damage the cartilage. And then when they're formed, or when they seal up, they're not formed properly, so they have hip and elbow problems. So it's just not worth risking. But something I see a lot of people do now is that they take the dog out and they carry them about when they're too young before they get their second jab. I see a lot of people are doing it. They're carrying them out. I've even seen a little backpacks you get with a dog in the back. So I guess that's another option. I've never done it, and I think it's a bit overkill. You don't need to stress too much. But if that's what you want to do, you can do that as well. Now, question number 7. How do I toilet train a puppy? Now, again, this goes back to the crate. What you need to do is build a routine around the crate. This is how it should go. So your dog goes in the crate in the morning or at night. They wake up in the morning, they're still in the crate. You let them out. Before there's any fun, before there's any fuss, you put them outside for the toilet. And then when they're outside, when they go, make sure you praise them, because then you're rewarding them. You're letting them know that's the right thing to do. Then when they come in, play with them, blah, blah, blah. And then before you put them back in the crate, like, let's say it's been an hour or whatever, before you put them back in the crate, out for the toilet again, praise them when they go to the toilet, then in the crate for a bit. Then they have a sleep. When they come out, repeat the process. If they ever make any mistakes in the house, don't tell them off. They can't correlate the act of doing the toileting and the punishment. You tell them off. They don't see it as, oh, I've weed there, so they're telling me off. They see it as, there's a puddle there, now he's shouting at me. They don't correlate the two. They don't correlate the action. So it's just going to confuse them. Question number 8. What's the best age to start socializing? Socialization, before we even get into when to start it, all socialization is teaching them how to be social. We always compare it to, you don't go around the supermarket hugging everyone, do you? Because that's weird. That's what socialization is teaching them how to act, how to not be weird. Where a lot of people go wrong with socialization is that they're too much. Oh, go on, meet everyone. I want you to be friendly. So go on, see that person over there. Go on, go get a stroke off of him. Or see that dog, go play. But then all this teaches your dog is that whenever they see a person or whenever they see a dog, they're allowed to run over and just charge at it. So this teaches them bad lead manners, bad social etiquette, and everything just goes out the window. They're not going to be a trained dog. So what you need to do is teach them how to be social. So when you see a person, ignore them, just walk past. When you see a dog, don't worry about it. Let's just go. And you want to start this literally as soon as you can bring them out of the house. That's when you want to start doing this. And a common misconception I get all the time is that, oh, you can only socialize a pup. So when people get a rescue or something, they're like, oh, I can't socialize him because he must have had bad socialization. And yeah, that's true, because they go through a sponge stage when they're younger. But socialization is just teaching them new rules. How I want you to act social. So even if you've got an older dog or you've got a rescue or whatever, and you're like, oh, I messed up the socialization, so they're a lost cause. It's not the case. All you need to do is reintroduce how to be social. It might take a bit long because now they've got a life of learning the wrong stuff, but you can still do it. Question number 9. How do I stop my puppy jumping up? Now, this is probably, when it comes to puppy training, one of the things we get the most often. What happens is a dog jumps up and they do it because they want attention. So they jump up, and then what do? You look at them, which is attention because you're giving them eye contact. You speak to them, whether they're saying, oh, hello, mate, or you're saying, get down, stop, blah, 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 which is verbal recognition, so they enjoy that as well. And you might stroke them, you might give them attention here or there. You might start playing with them because they got your attention now, so that's even more positives. Or you might be trying to push them down. Pushing them down can be like instigating. When I play with my dogs, I push them away when I'm playing with a toy. It builds them up and makes them want it even more. When people are doing security work, they hold them back from the decoy. That restraint is what makes them want the decoy so much, wants them to bite the sleeve so much. So that doesn't work. What you need to do is the complete opposite of all of that, so they get no positives from you. So don't look at them, don't touch them, don't talk to them. So they don't get none of them positives. And then from there, what you do is just walk straight into them. There's a thing with dogs, and it's called spatial pressure. Whenever dogs meet, to kind of show the other dog that they're uncomfortable in a situation or uncomfortable by something the other dog's doing, is they'll claim their space. How we kind of compare it is, if you're talking to someone and they stand a little too close to you, it makes you uncomfortable. Dogs do the same, and we can use that to our advantage when we're training them. If they're jumping up us, they're trying to claim our space. So what we need to do is completely flip it. We need to claim their space. So when they're on their back legs, just walk straight into them, follow them, follow them, follow them. Eventually they're going to get out of the way. Then they're going to realise that we didn't like that. So keep repeating that, and then give it 4, 5, 6, 7 different times of doing it. Then they're going to stop jumping up. Question number 10. My puppy won't eat. Is that normal? Now, this really depends on how long they haven't been eating, what food you're giving them, things like that. But if they don't want to eat a meal, don't stress. You know, one meal's not going to hurt them. If they're going a day or two at a time and they're not eating, that's when I start going at the vets or start thinking about it. But something I find that a lot of puppy owners, especially first time puppy owners, get wrong is that they leave a food bowl down all day for the pup because they want them to be able to eat whenever they want. But all this does is lower the value of the food and let them know that it's not scarce. So there's no urgency when they have to eat. So sometimes they will eat, but they don't see the food as valuable, so they don't care about getting it all down at once. So give them the food bowl in the morning, give it 20 minutes. If they've stopped eating, pick it up, put it away. Because then the next time they're going to be even hungrier, then they're going to eat it all. Question number 11. How do I crate train a puppy? Now, I'm going to oversimplify this because I've got another 90 questions to answer. I ain't got all day. But what you want to do is exercise them first, give them that mental and physical fulfillment so they're naturally tired, let them go to the toilet, and then put them in there for 5 minutes. They're going to be in there, and first they're probably going to whine because, like we said earlier, they're pack animals. They want to be in a group. But ignore the whining. Don't give them anything. Don't fuss them because then they're going to learn that whining gets them what they want. Eventually, they're going to settle, then they're going to relax, and then they're going to sleep. Then when they wake up, as soon as they wake up, let them out, let them go to the toilet, then have a play with them. This way, they don't learn that the crates are negative. Something that I see a lot of people do is that the dog will do something bad, whatever. They're jumping up, they're doing this, they're doing that, whatever. And then people use the crate as a punishment. Get in there, lock them in. Then whenever you're trying to put the dog in the crate to go and sleep, they're not going to want to do it because they see it as a negative. The crate should always be a positive. It should be their safe space to go where they need to sleep or they need to relax or whatever. Now, something I see a common misconception a lot of dog owners have is that the crate is like a cage for them because it don't look the best. But you need to see it more as like a cot for a baby. It's somewhere where they can go, they're not bothered, they can relax and they can sleep. Now, question number 12. Why does my puppy eat everything off the floor? Well, it's because they never learnt no different. They see something on the floor, they're excited, they're curious, they want to go over and investigate. What you want to try and do is, we call it setting them up to fail. So drop a bit of food on the floor. As they come over, you want to use spatial pressure. So start walking into them, claim their space, so then they can't get the food. So you drop a bit of food here. As they start coming over, you just start walking into them. You're pushing them away, you're kind of guiding them away, and then they realise that, that's yours. Because that's how dogs communicate. If a dog's eating food and there's other dogs around, they stand over it. That's all we're doing. They want to come over. We're pretty much saying, food on the floor is ours. Now, question number 13. Why won't my dog come back when called? If you imagine, for them, when they're off lead, there's other smells that they don't get all the time. There's maybe other dogs they can play with. There's squirrels to chase. There's rabbits. There's whatever. There's a bunch of fun stuff that they can't get with you. And when they see you, you're just stood there still. You're bored, you're cold, whatever. You're not moving. You're not engaging. So in their mind, they got to choose between you, which in their mind's worth 2 out of 10, or everything else is worth an 11 out of 10. They're going to choose all that stuff, especially when the only time you call them back is to put the lead on them and go home. So what you want to try and do is flip it. You want to make sure you're using a long line so you can control them. So if they're running off too far, you still got that control. And when you call them, make yourself as fun as you can. Run backwards, make yourself more engaging, be more high-pitched. Because then this way, you're teaching them that you're actually fun. So whenever you call them, they're not going to get put on the lead and get sent back home. They're going to get fun, they're going to get a game, they're going to get to play. Then they're going to choose to come back more often. You just have to play to a dog's self-interests. If you're trying to teach a dog anything, there's no point trying to force them. You need to make them think that they want to do it. It's the easiest way. Question 13. Why won't my dog come back when I call them? Well, in your dog's mind, everything's a value exchange. So whenever they're doing something, it's because it benefits them the most. So if you think when they're off lead, they have different smells that they like. They have other dogs that they might be able to play with. Squirrels they might be able to chase. And they can scent mark. There's a lot of fun stuff they can do when they're not with you. When they look back at you and they see that you're stood there boring, cold, not moving, not being engaging, they're like, I can either go back to that boring thing or I can stay over here where there's loads of fun. Especially if on top of that you add the only time that you call them back is to put the lead on them. The only time they ever come back, they're getting a negative. So when you're trying to teach a dog to come back, first of all, you need them on a long line. So you've got that bit of control so they can't just run off. And then when you call them back, you need to be the most fun thing in the world. So you need to be higher pitched, you need to be running backwards, you need to be engaging. And then when they get to you, have a toy with you so you can play with them. So then in their mind, whenever you call them, it's not this boring person's going to put the lead on me and we're going to go home. It's fun time, we're going to play. Question number 14. What's the best way to teach recall? Run backwards, be engaging, be fun, be high pitched. When they get back to you, play with them. Don't put the lead on them and take them home. It's that simple. Question number 15. Should I tell my dog off when they eventually come back? That's one of the worst things you can do. Dogs live in the moment. So when you call them back, let's say you're calling them, come, 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 come. You're calling them 10 times and they come back on the 11th time you call them. In our mind, we've got sparks coming out our ears. We're annoyed at them. Why didn't you come back all them other times? So we have a go at them. In their mind, they're only remembering the one time they did come back. So they realise that the one time they do come back, they get told off, they get put on the lead, they get dragged home. They're like, why am I going to keep doing that? So if you're teaching recall, even that could be difficult. When they do get to you, you need to be fun, you need to be engaging, and you need to be exciting. Because if you don't, they're just not going to come back in the future. Question number 16. My dog comes back in the garden, but not outside. Why? Now this goes back to the value exchange. In the garden, there's not as many smells, there's not as much fun, there's not as much engagement. But at home, you might have treats on you all the time. When they come in, you might play with them, you might reward them, you might praise them, whatever. So the idea is, in their mind, staying outside might be worth 4 out of 10, and you might be worth 5 out of 10. So like, it's worth it, I might as well just come back in. But when you're out at a field or at a park or something, there's so much more distractions, there's so much more for them to focus on, that you become worth a 2 out of 10 relative to everything else, and everything else is a 10 out of 10. 17. How do I get reliable recall around other dogs? It's actually quite simple. Start in a low distraction area where there's no distractions, get them coming back every time, then gradually add more and more distractions. So start in a quiet area, a quiet time of the day, then maybe go to that same area when it's a little busier, so there's the odd dog here or there. And as long as you've got them on a long line, you know nothing can go wrong. If they start trying to run off, do a little bit of pressure on the long line just to kind of redirect them back to you. And yeah, it's that simple. Just keep building up the distractions more and more until you can go to the busiest fields, busiest parks, and they won't care about them other dogs. Question number 18. Is a long line worth using? Yeah. Like, if you're teaching recall, you need a long line. We say if you're not willing to bet your house on the fact they're coming back, don't let them off lead yet. So give them that freedom with a long line so you can practice their recall, practice getting them coming back. But like I said, until you trust them 100 times out of 100 they're going to come back, don't let them off lead. Question number 19. Is it better to use a long line or an extendable lead? Now this really depends on the person. I personally prefer using a long line. They're easier, and as well, a way that we teach recall is by we hold a little bit of constant pressure to guide them back to us. So let's say if they're off wandering off, whatever, when we call them, we hold a little bit of pressure to kind of help them understand that we want them to come back to us. So we're teaching them through touch and through voice. When you're using an extendable lead, because it's always trying to recoil, what can happen is they get confused and they think we're always trying to call them back through that touch. So a long line's normally better, but obviously with a long line, it's getting dragged through mud, you end up tripping over it. So I get why people use extendable leads, but personally, long lines are better for me. Now, question number 20. Why does my dog pull on the lead? Well, it's actually quite simple. Dogs enjoy pulling. Naturally, throughout history, they've been bred and bred and bred to pull carts and to pull sleds and to pull things like that. So it becomes enjoyable to them now. So all them thousands of years of selectively breeding the dogs that enjoy pulling is what your little Cocker Spaniel is now, or what your Rottweiler is now. So they enjoy pulling. So naturally, it's already fun for them to pull. As well, when they pull, they would get what they want the quickest. So if they want to smell this over there, as soon as they pull you, they can get there quicker than if you was just walking. So that's another reward for them. As well, sometimes, if you're walking this way and there's a smell that way they want to get to, it's impossible for them to get it unless they pull you. So they pull, and they get what they want. So in their mind, all of these positives add up. They're like, well, pulling's just worth it. And they've never been told any different. You might be down the other end of the lead saying, stop, get back here, blah, 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 getting stressed at them. They don't have a clue what the words you're saying mean because they don't speak English. So they're just in their own world, doing whatever they want and enjoying life, really. Question 21. What's the best lead for a dog that pulls? Now, the best lead is one that you can use to communicate to your dog what you actually want from them. What we use is a training collar. So it's similar to a slip lead, but we get them custom made so they're better for kind of communicating. But you need a way to tell them, I don't like what you're doing. So you lower the value of them pulling, lower the value of them misbehaving. So then going forward, they think, oh, pulling's not worth it no more. I'll just stay next to this guy. Question 22. Are harnesses better than collars for pulling? No. Harnesses are terrible for pulling. Unless you want them to pull. If you're trying to get them to pull a sled or a cart or something, put them on a harness. Because as soon as they feel pressure in their chest, naturally they have something called an opposition reflex. They feel pressure one way, they naturally want to push against it. So when they feel pressure in their chest in this big harness, they can use all of their muscles and start pulling into it. So naturally they start pulling. A lot of people get a harness because they think, oh, it gives me more control over the dog because it covers more of them. But actually, it just gives your dog more control over you. Question 23. How do I teach loose lead walking? Well, the idea is you need to lower the value of them pulling and increase the value of them being next to you. Now, I can go into a lot of detail on this, but what I've done anyway, just so I ain't got to spend all my time answering this question, is if you look in the description, the first link is a video of me training my dog Candy from when she used to pull and now she don't pull. So it goes over my methods, the tools I use, everything, and it's free, so you might as well go look. Question 24. My dog's great off lead, but a nightmare on it. Why? Well, the thing is, when a dog's on lead, they want to get a little bit further than the lead will let them. So this builds up frustration, so then they start to pull and they start to misbehave. When they're off lead, there's no frustration because they can go do what they want. Question 25. What is an assumed heel? Well, an assumed heel is how we teach our dogs to walk nicely on a lead. All it means is that instead of just walking nicely next to us, they're going to mirror what we do. So if I stop, they're going to stop next to me. If I turn, they're going to turn. And this way, we're going to keep that focus, and it kind of resembles what a pack's like in the wild. In a pack of dogs, everyone's looking to the leader for that guidance. So what we do is we teach that, we resemble that, but on lead. So instead of it being, which way we're going to go hunt, they're looking to us in, when are we going to stop? When are we going to turn? When are we going to do this? Because as well, let's say they see a dog in the distance and they want to react. Instead of just reacting straight away, they're going to see the dog, look to us, are we reacting? And then because we're calm, because we're not bothered, they're not going to react either. Question 26. How do I stop my dog lunging at other dogs on the lead? Well, the first thing you need to do is teach them good lead manners in a calm area. You can't just rush straight out to be around other dogs. Teach them good lead manners. You can start in your garden, start somewhere where there's no distractions. Get them behaving well there, and then gradually start to increase the level of distraction from in your garden to maybe out in your front garden to a field, to a busier field, and then gradually increase the distractions until they're perfect. And as well, you want to be teaching an assumed heel. So when they're next to you, they're not just walking nicely next to you, they're looking in at you, they're checking in with you, they're mirroring what you do. Because then this way, when they see another dog, because you're not bothered and because you're not reacting to it, they're not going to react either. Question 27. Should I let my dog sniff on walks? Now, this is where I kind of differ from other trainers. And I say you should limit how much they sniff. Because there's a thing with dogs, and it's called the scarcity principle. It's the same for people, but it's something we use for when we train dogs. And it's the less you have of something, the more it's worth to a dog. Same for us. The reason gold's so valuable is because we haven't got a lot of it. So if we limit how much they're allowed to sniff on a walk, then when we give them that opportunity, it's a big positive for them. So what I like to do is get them walking nice for 5 minutes. Then I find a patch of grass somewhere where they can sniff whatever, and I say, go on then, because then it's worth more because they haven't been sniffing the whole time. And also, because they can't sniff until I say so, I'm kind of the gateway to something that they want. So it increases my value. As well, what you'll find is the leader of a pack is the one that leads the walk. They determine when we're stopping, when we're going, when we're doing whatever. So if we want to show our dogs that we're the leader, we need to be the one that controls the walk. So when we're out walking them, we can't let them drag us all over the place and pull us back to sniff something or stop and sniff every 2 seconds. We need to be the leader of the walk. We need to show them what we want from them. And we do that by saying, no, you're not sniffing here, let's go. And then when we do want to stop, when we do want to let them have a sniff, that's on our terms, not theirs. Question 28. How do I stop my dog jumping up at people? Now, there's 2 main things you can do. One of them is spatial pressure. So when your dog jumps up, tell the person to just walk into them. You want to completely ignore them, don't talk to them, don't touch them, don't even give them eye contact, but just walk straight into the dog until they jump off. This uses spatial pressure to make them uncomfortable, so they don't want to do it no more. Or, something I like to do is invite people round, put my dog on a lead, and I just stand on the lead. So anytime they try to jump up, the lead's holding them down. So they jump up and it kind of brings them back. They're like, this don't work. Because that frustration and that being held back on a long enough time frame will stop them from trying. Question 29. Why does my dog bark at everything? Well, there's a few main reasons. One of them can be genetics. Some dogs have been bred to have thicker vocal cords, so they naturally want to bark more. So it could be that. Another one can be frustration. If they always feel like they're being restricted or something, it can make them feel like barking all the time. Another one can be that they think they're the leader. So when they see something moving, they're like, well, I'm the boss, I've got to take care of it. So they bark to try and scare it off. Another one can be ego. So some dogs, especially little dogs, because let's say they see a dog in the distance and they're not sure, if that dog comes over here, I'm not going to win in the fight. So what they'll do is they'll try to bark at it, try and scare it off. Don't come over here, I'll kill you. So they're fronting, they're putting on this persona of, I'm the top dog. And then normally what happens is, especially if the dogs are on lead, that person with that other dog is going to say, I don't want to walk past that. So then they walk the other way, they leave. Your dog thinks they've scared them off. So they build this ego when they do it with that dog and that dog and that dog. They build this ego of, look at me, everyone's scared of me. So then that's where the barking comes from. They've got this ego, this insecurity, but it's been a self-reinforcing behaviour because every time they've done it, they've stayed alive. Question 30. How do I stop my dog barking at the door? Now what you need to do here is something that we call displacement training. So basically, what we need to do is redirect their energy away from the door and somewhere else. So what we do is we teach them a place command. So you get like a raised bed or a raised platform or just a normal bed or something. It can even be their crate. Somewhere that they know that when you say a certain word, they've got to go there. Now, when someone knocks at the door, go over and stand in between your dog and the door with your back towards the door. In a dog's body language, well, when a dog's using their body language to communicate, if their back's to something, they're saying, I trust it. Because in a dog's world, a lot of things are survival based. If your back's to something, then you're easily attackable. So I'm saying, don't worry, I trust whoever's at the door because I'm putting my back to it, which kind of takes the defense drive out of your dog's reactivity. And then from there, what I want you to do is you're standing in the way, and I want you to say, thanks for letting me know. Now go to your place, go to your bed, go to your crate. Because now their energy's been directed towards the door, now it's getting directed somewhere else. So they're still using that energy's still being fulfilled, but it's not towards barking. You do this enough times, they stop barking at the door. Now, question 31. My dog destroys things when I leave. What do? It's quite simple, just crate train them. If your dog destroys things, it's because they have too much freedom too early. So what you need to do is, first of all, make sure they have enough fulfillment. You don't want them going in the crate unfulfilled because then they're going to hate the crate. They're not going to see it as a positive. So before you leave, before you go out, take them on a walk, play with them, give them that fulfillment. And then when you leave, put them in the crate, let them rest, let them have a sleep. This way they haven't got the freedom to try and destroy things. And a lot of the time as well, when you're out, they just want to sleep anyway. Question 32. How do I stop my dog chewing furniture? Now, there's a few things you can do. One of them, you can get this spray that dogs don't like the taste of, so you just spray it on the furniture. Dog doesn't like chewing it. Some dogs it works for, some dogs it doesn't. Another thing you can do is use spatial pressure. So if you ever see them doing it, walk into them and claim their space, and they realise that the sofa's yours, not theirs. And another one you can do is just crate train them. A lot of the time, when a dog's chewing, it's because they're frustrated. So they're either overtired or undertired. So you need to make sure, first of all, that they're doing it because they're overtired. So make sure they've had the fulfillment, make sure they've had the walks, the play, and all of that. So you're eliminating the undertired thing out of it. They're not frustrated because they're too built up of energy and they're too whatever. It's because they're too tired, they need a sleep. And then from there, because they're tired, then you can go in the crate. Let them have a sleep, let them rest, and then they're not going to do it no more. Question 33. My dog steals things and runs off. This is because your dog sees it as a game. They steal a tea towel or something, then you start chasing them. They're just playing a game. So what you need to try and do is set them up to fail, really. What I do is I put like a tea towel out, something that they like, and then as they start kind of walking over to try and get it, I ignore them. Because I know they're going to get it anyway, I don't stress. They go over, they pick it up, and they start running, thinking I'm going to chase them. I don't. So then I look over at them. They're trying to instigate play. They're trying to get me to chase them. I just ignore them. Eventually, they get so bored of trying, they just drop it and walk off. Do that enough times, they realise that tea towels and your clothes or whatever, it's not a way to start play. It's just boring now. Question 34. How do I stop my dog begging at the table? Begging's a learnt behaviour. It's not because your dog's naturally wants to beg or nothing. It's because they've realised that it's worked in the past. Your dog comes over to you and you give them food, you give them treats, you give them whatever from the table. So in their mind, why are they going to stop doing it? So what you need to do is stop doing it. Send them to a place, send them to a crate, send them somewhere else when you eat. That always makes it easier because then there's that distance there. But if you don't want to do that, all you need to do is when they're begging, completely ignore them. Don't look at them, whether they're whining, barking, whatever. Don't look at them. Don't give them anything. Then eventually they're like, I've been here 20 minutes and no one's giving me no food, no one's giving me no attention. I'm off then. It's like sometimes it is that simple. Just stop giving them the thing that they want and then they're going to stop trying to do it. Question 35. My dog barks at other dogs. Is that aggression? Now, the level of a bark is kind of, unless you hear it, it's hard to tell whether it's aggression or not. A lot of the time, if it's a higher pitch bark, it's more playful, and if it's deeper, it's more aggressive. So just think how deep's your bark compared to like when they're playing or something. So obviously, if your dog does this, it's better to kind of try and film it and try and send it to a trainer or someone that knows what they're doing, because then they can dissect it. But a lot of the time, the change in pitch is what shows us whether it's aggression or not. Another thing you can do as well is not just look at the barking, but look at the rest of the dog. If their hackles are up, if their teeth are showing, if they're trying to make themselves look bigger, they're all signs that they're being aggressive. In my dog training framework, we have a full section on it, which is literally just about body language. So what each behaviour means, what they're trying to tell us, and what you should do when they're doing their behaviours. Question 36. Why does my dog lunge at cyclists? Dogs are invited by movement. When something's moving, they naturally want to chase it, and it's how they hunt. They see something moving in the distance, they see a bit of grass moving, whatever, they naturally want to chase it. So when they see a cyclist, their instincts kick in, their prey drive kicks in, and they just want to chase it. So what you need to do is counter condition. Every time they go to lunge at a cyclist, start moving the other way. This way, they're going to be invited by your movement instead of theirs. They're going to go one way, thinking they're chasing a cyclist, look back thinking you're with them. You're halfway down the road. They're like, I've got to go back. Then naturally, going forward, whenever they see a cyclist, they're going to check in with you first, see where you are, break that focus, break that engagement, and then stop chasing stuff. Question 37. How do I stop my dog digging in the garden? This, 99% of the time, is just unfulfillment. They're not fulfilled enough, mentally or physically, so they've got to do something. And a lot of the time, that could be digging up the garden. So make sure you're walking them more, playing with them more, and giving them more fulfillment. Question 38. My dog growls at strangers. Should I be worried? Yeah. If your dog's growling at strangers, it's because they're either insecure and nervous or they're aggressive. So either way, it needs working on. So if you've got a nervous dog, you need to build their confidence and show them that they can look to you for guidance instead of thinking they've got to tackle the world by themselves. Or if they're overly dominant and they're acting aggressive, they need to show that that's not the right way to act, re-socialise them, and then go from there. Question 39. Why does my dog hump everything? Well, actually, humping's not what you think it is. Humping's done for two reasons. One of them's dominance, so if they're trying to hump your leg or another dog or something, it could be because they're trying to dominate them. Or it can just be that they've got built up energy that you need to get rid of. So what you need to do, instead of letting them do all that, take them on more walks, give them more fulfillment, play with them more, and then they won't have this energy there to try and do that. Question 40. How do I stop my dog counter surfing? What I like to do is teach a strong place command. If you teach them that whenever I say this word, you have to go to your area, your place, whether it's a raised bed, a hammock, or a crate, whatever. If you teach them that, then whenever they're in the kitchen and you think they're thinking about it, no, go to your place, because then they haven't got the opportunity to do that. Another thing you can do is create a clear boundary for the kitchen so they're never allowed in the kitchen. So whenever they try to step in, claim their space using spatial pressure, so just walk straight into them until you guide them out of the room. They learn that, okay, this ain't my space to go. Because instead of trying to work on the counter surfing, just work on the bigger picture, which is whenever you're in the kitchen, you're going to misbehave. I just find it's an easier way to do it, and it takes a lot less time. Question 41. My dog barks all night. What can I do? Well, a lot of the time, barking can either be because they're nervous, because they're separate from you, or because they're unfulfilled. So obviously, if they're unfulfilled, walk them more, play with them more, give them more training, things like that. Give them that fulfillment. So they haven't got any pent-up energy there to just use to bark. Or if they're nervous being separate from you, you need to go back to basics and re-crate train them. If you crate train them and you show them that it's all right to be away from us, and you do some structured separation during the day where, let's say you're in the kitchen cooking dinner, they're in their crate for 20 minutes, and then you come back 20 minutes later, whatever, you'll teach them that it's all right to be away from us, we're always going to come back. Question 42. Why does my dog howl when he's excited? A lot of the time, dogs, they all have their own different personalities. Some dogs howl, some dogs bark, some dogs will spin in circles, some dogs will do whatever. Howling's not a problem if they're just excited. I wouldn't stress too much about it. But yeah, some dogs, especially your huskies and them sort of types, they just love howling. Question 43. How do I know if my dog has separation anxiety? Well, here's an easy way for you. Leave the room, give it 10 minutes. If they're still whining, they probably got it. Question 44. Can separation anxiety be fixed? A lot of the time, yeah. What you need to do is give them more fulfillment so they don't have this built up energy that ends up manifesting into anxiety. And also, you need to give them a structured separation. So whether it's by a crate command or place command or whatever, you give them structured separation so then they learn that it's all right to be away from you. You're always going to come back. Question 45. How do I teach my dog to be alone? Now, we've kind of already gone over this, but you need to do structured separation. You need to teach them that whenever I'm away, I'm going to come back. And it's harder to do this on longer time frames. So a lot of the time, people just chuck them in a crate, they leave for work, and then 8 hours later, they come back. Your dog struggles to see the resemblance between when they went in there and when you got back. They can't correlate the two. So what you need to do is start on smaller time increments. Start with 1 minute. So put them in there, leave for 1 minute, come back. And then from there, do that a few times, then 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and gradually build it up until you're gone for or all day at work. Question 46. Should I get a second dog to keep mine company? No, a lot of the time you shouldn't. A lot of the time, all that happens is they both learn bad habits and bad traits off of each other, and they both end up misbehaving more. Especially if they're litter mates, they're a handful. So if you're willing to put in the time to train them and do everything separate at first, so they can learn right from wrong, then yeah, you can. But a lot of the time, it's a lot more work than it's worth. Question 47. Why does my dog growl when we play? This a lot of the time can be because of the breed. If you've got a Staff, if you've got a Rottie, if you've got a Shepherd, a lot of these dogs, naturally, they like to growl when they play. You can see it as well if you ever have a litter of these. When you see the pups, they don't shut up. When they're playing, they're growling, they're biting, they're being too rough in our mind. but to them, that's just natural for how they play. So as long as there's no aggression linked to it, I wouldn't stress too much about when they're growling. Question 48. Is my dog aggressive or just reactive? Now, a lot of this just depends on what they'd do if you let them off. If you let them run over there and they're going to play, then they're just reactive. If you let them off and then run over and then start trying to fight that dog, then they're aggressive. So a lot of the time, what you need to try and tell is not just the reacting, or the major signs of the reaction, but the minor signs. So are their hackles up? Are they spinning? Are they happy to turn their back to the thing? Are they bouncing? Are they trying to make themselves stiff and rigid? If you can tell the other signs, then it's a lot easier to tell whether it's just reactive, like they want to play or they want to go and greet them, or if it's aggressive. In my online school, we actually have a section just on body language, telling you what a dog does, what it means, and what you should do if they're displaying that behaviour. Because sometimes one sign can mean 3 different things. If they're barking, it can mean that they're excited, they're playful, or they're aggressive. But if you can look at all the other signs, they all start to add up and they all start to paint a clearer picture. Question 49. Can an aggressive dog be rehabilitated? Yeah. If you couldn't, then there'd be no dog training TV shows, would there? Cesar Millan would be out of a job if you couldn't do it. The only thing is, you have to kind of know what you're doing. You have to put clear boundaries in place, put clear structure in place, and then they'll learn. But the problem is, a lot of dog owners that have aggressive dogs aren't happy to put in that structure, aren't happy to even put in that time to try and teach them. And that's why a lot of dogs end up being aggressive, being sent to shelters and being sent to get put down, just because no one really has the time or no one cares enough to try and teach them. Question 50. Why is my dog aggressive with other dogs? A lot of this can be dominance, a lot of it could be nerves, a lot of it could be insecurity. But if the dog's never had a situation where they've been attacked by another dog or something like that, a lot of the time it can be dominance. They don't like being around other dogs. They don't like how scatty a dog can be or how playful a dog can be or how bouncy they are, because that can lead to unpredictability. I can't tell what you're going to do next, so I'm unsure, so I'm nervous. Okay, I'm just going to react. As well, when it comes to dogs reacting with other dogs, sometimes it's not aggression, it's built up frustration that looks like aggression. If your dog's on lead and they see another dog, they can have frustration because you're holding them back with a lead, which causes them to bark when actually they just wanted to go over and play. Question 51. My dog's fine with adults but snaps at children. Why? This is because children can be unpredictable. With children, what happens is they're scatty, they might pull their ears, they're bouncing, they're loud 1 minute and they're quiet another. Dogs don't like unpredictability, so it's difficult for them to kind of tell what's going to happen next. And for situations like this, where dogs are being funny with the children, whatever, I've actually made an ebook that's part of my online classroom that's about raising kids and canines together. It's called Kids and Canines, but it's about raising kids and dogs together. So how your kids should behave, how your dog should be with them, and what's right and what's wrong. Question 52. What should I do if my dog bites someone? This is obviously a situation no one ever wants to be in. But if your dog's biting someone, what you need to do is grab under the collar and hold it upwards. What you can't do is try and drag them off, because their bite force is so strong, you're not going to. What you need to do is hold the collar upwards, it's just behind their neck, then eventually they're going to open their mouth and they're going to let go. Question 53. Why is my dog suddenly aggressive when it never used to be? A lot of this is hormonal. As they get older, they get more hormones, so then they get a bit more, it can either be insecurity or dominance based off of these hormones, and then that can lead to aggression, or it can lead to reactivity. So what you need to do is just restructure everything, remind them that you're in charge, you're the leader, because then when they feel like reacting, when they feel like being aggressive, they like, you're the leader, what are you doing? Oh, you're not aggressive? All right, I'll relax as well. Question 54. Why does my dog not like treats? Now, there's 2 things that we do to increase the value of treats. And there's 2 principles that we kind of follow. One's the effort principle, and one is the scarcity principle. So first, the effort principle is that the more effort you put into something, the more it's worth to you. So how I like to compare it is, if you run a marathon and you get a medal, it means everything to you. You'll frame it, you'll show everyone that comes around your house, look at this medal I got for running this marathon. But if I gave it to you, or if you gave it to someone else, it means nothing to them because it's just a bit of metal. That's what the effort principle is. The more effort you put into it, the more something's worth to a dog. So if you want to increase the value of something, instead of just giving them treats for nothing and making them worthless, make them work for it. It seems counterintuitive because they've got to do more to get something that they didn't want in the first place. But because of that effort, it means they actually want it, or it makes them actually want it. And the other principle is the scarcity principle, where the less you have of something, the more it's worth. A lot of people leave a bowl of food down for the dog all the time, so they're like, food's pretty much worthless now, I can get it whenever I want. They give them treats for doing nothing, so the treats are worthless now because they get them for nothing. They just, or sit. They're like repeating, they're trying to tell them something and they don't do it. They're like, close enough, and they give them a treat. It's like, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to work for it, and I still get what I want. So why am I going to try and do a behaviour that you actually want me to do? Or why am I going to care about a treat they're not going to. There's no scarcity there. There's no link to the fact that they won't get them all the time. You're like, oh, I don't worry about a treat now. I'll probably get one later anyway. So make them work for it. Make them actually have to do something to get it, and make it so they don't get them all the time. The less they have of something, the more they want it. The more effort they do, the more they're going to want it as well. Question 55. Do I have to use treats forever? No, you don't. Treats are just a way to teach them something, but after that, the structure and the foundations that you've had in place will outweigh the treats, so you won't have to use them no more. As well, there's so many other ways to reward a dog other than treats. You've got praise, you've got strokes, you've got movement, you've got letting them have a sniff, you've got so many different ways that you can praise them. Treats are just one of them. Question 56. Why does my dog keep walking into me? Now, this is quite common in your herding breeds, so your collies, your shepherds, and breeds like that, because they're naturally trying to herd you. They're saying, I want to go that way, so they're nudging into you, they're trying to walk into you to guide you that way. So what you need to do if they're doing this is walk back into them. You need to claim their space instead of letting them claim yours. 57. How long should a training session be? Now, what I like to do is I like to cut sessions down into shorter, more digestible sessions. So if someone drops their dog off to me for an hour, what I'll do is I'll break it into 3 separate sessions. So it might be 10-15 minutes of training and then 10 minutes off. 10-15 minutes of training and 10 minutes off. Because now, what can happen is if you do too much, is the dog either goes on autopilot, so they know what you want them to do, but they're not thinking, so they're not learning. Or they get so bored that they remember training sessions are boring, they're not fun, they're not engaging, they're not exciting. So then the next time you get the treat pouch out, or the next time you try to train them, they're going to say, nah, I don't want to do that. So if you keep them short, so just before they have that crash, just before they have that drop off of energy, you stop it, and then you have a play over them or you let them have a rest or something. And they always think of training sessions as fun and engaging and exciting. So then the next time you get the treat pouch out, the next time you want to train them, they're going to want to do it. Question 58. How does a dog actually learn? Well, to put it simply, a dog just thinks, if I do this behaviour, will it end positively for me or negatively for me? If it's positive, they're going to keep doing it. If it's negative, they're going to stop doing it. So if you think of pulling or jumping up, whatever, the only reason they're doing it is because overall it ends positively for them, whether it's because they get engagement or praise or attention or whatever. They get what they want, so they're going to keep doing it. So if your dog's misbehaving, you need to you need to find out what they're doing or what's motivating them to do it. Stop giving them all of them things and then start to give them positives for doing the complete opposite. So if they're pulling, stop giving them all the rewards or stop all the rewards that they naturally get by pulling and then reward them when they're next to you. And in their mind, going over there always ends negatively. I never get what I want. Staying here with you gets me what I want. Alright, I'll keep doing that. Question 59. What is a fully trained dog? Now, this depends on who you ask. I've had a few debates over this. But a fully trained dog, in my mind, is a dog that does everything you want him to do. So yeah, if you're a protection dog, or if you want a protection dog, a fully trained dog's one that bites, barks, searches the perimeter, whatever, follows, does whatever. To me, a fully trained dog, or what I want, is a dog that's going to not pull me, not react, and will come back when I call them. All the other stuff is just extras. Yeah, it's cool if they can lay down and do a spin or do paw, but in my mind, I don't need them to do that. So a fully trained dog for me is just one that's going to behave. Question 60. Why does my dog only listen when I have treats? Well, it's because they're selfish. Dogs are selfish. They want what they want, and if it doesn't benefit them, they're not going to do it. So when you're trying to get them to do something, if they know they're not going to get rewarded for it, they're not going to bother. So what you got to do if you don't have treats with you is substitute the praise or substitute the reward with other types of rewards. So praise, strokes, toys, attention, movement, things like that. Because then in their mind, they still get the positive they want. It might not be the treat that they was expecting, but it's still a positive. Question 61. How important is timing in dog training? I'll be honest, it's probably one of the most important things. You need to make sure you get the timing right. You don't wait too long, or you need to make sure that the dog can actually correlate what they're getting rewarded for or what they're getting told off for. Because if you don't, they're just going to get confused. Dogs live in 3 to 5 second cycles. So if you don't catch something and either reward or tell them off in that 3 to 5 second cycle, they're not correlating it. They're not going to associate the behaviour they did with the reward or the telling off. So timing is quite important. Question 62. What is clicker training? Now, clicker training is just where you use a clicker to bridge the gap between the behaviour they're doing and the reward they're going to get. So like I said, because dogs are in these 3 to 5 second cycles and timing is so important, let's say if you're trying to teach them to focus on you, as soon as they look up at you, you go in your pocket looking for a treat. By the time you give it to them, they're thinking something else. But if you can teach them that a clicker means good job as well, as soon as they look up at you, you mark it with a click that says good job, and then you've got more time to reward them. So it buys you a bit of time, so your timing doesn't have to be perfect. Question 63. Can I overtrain a dog? In the short term, yes. In the long term, no. In the short term, if you spend 3 hours at a time just training them, that's overtraining. They're going to get bored, they're going to get drained, they can't be bothered, their energy's going to go, they're not going to like training. But in the long term, if you structure it right, you can do, like when I had when Diesel was young, we've had about 12 sessions every single day. There's about 7 minutes each. So yeah, 12 sessions is a lot, but 7 minutes isn't a lot. And as long as you structure it the right way, where he sees it as fun and engaging and exciting, then he's going to want to keep doing it. So you could probably see that as overtraining, but he learned exactly what I wanted him to teach, and he saw it as fun all the time. Question 64. What does proofing a behaviour mean? All proofing a behaviour is testing them in the hardest conditions to see if they're still going to do the behaviour. So if you're teaching them recall and you want to proof it to make sure that they're perfect at it, you'll take them to a busy field where there's other dogs, there's rabbits, there's squirrels, there's other smells. There's so many different distractions that they're going to want to go to. But you'll call them back to you, and if they come back to you, that behaviour is perfect. You've proven it. That's all the proofing stage really is. You're just testing if they actually know it in the hardest conditions. 65. What actually is socialisation? Now, I've kind of gone over this a bit earlier, but socialisation is just teaching them how to be social. We compare it to you don't go around the supermarket hugging everyone, because that's just weird. But then when our dogs see someone, we expect them to go over and meet them or whatever. Socialising is teaching them that when you see someone, just ignore them, just walk past. Or when you see a dog, just ignore them, just walk past. That's all socialising really is, teaching them how to be social in different social settings. Question 66. Is my dog too old to socialise? No. No. So many people think that socialisation stops once they're not a pup no more. And obviously, yeah, socialisation starts when they're a pup. But if your dog's older, you're just teaching them like, what you thought was socialising before, what you thought was socially acceptable before, isn't acceptable no more. Now these are the new rules. That's all socialising is. And yeah, it'll probably take you a bit longer with an older dog because they've had all them years of doing all the wrong social stuff. But it's definitely possible. I see it every week at work. Question 67. How do I introduce my dog to other dogs? What you want to do is introduce them on a walk. So instead of letting them meet straight away, head on, and there's that tension, that's not the right way to do it. What you want to do is put them both on a lead and walk together. This gets them naturally understanding that they're part of a pack together. So they're already naturally bonding, even without realizing it. They're bonding and they're having this kind of this unity. And then when, let's say 10, 15, 20 minutes into it, when they understand that they're part of a pack, then you can introduce them. Because now it's less like they're two strangers meeting. It's more like they're two colleagues meeting. So it's easier for them to meet and to be less hostile with each other. Question 68. My dog's nervous around people. How do I help? With a nervous dog, you just got to be patient. So if someone wants to come over, instead of letting them invade your dog's space and hello mate and being high pitched and crazy, a nervous dog doesn't like that erraticness. You'd say, yeah, you can stroke him. Just give it a second. Let him come over to you. And then get that person to wait there. And then if your dog wants to stroke that or get a stroke off of that person, they can go over and greet them. If not, just say, sorry, he ain't a big fan, and just walk off. Obviously, there's ways to do this quicker and there's ways to make him so he's going to want to meet new people quicker. But a lot of that is kind of comes with experience. So I'd say if you want your dog to be able to go up and greet everyone, take him to a trainer. If your dog's just nervous and you want to help him get through life, that's how you want to do it. Tell the person, don't rush over. Let's see if he wants to come over to you. And then if your dog does, then he can go over and get a stroke. If he doesn't, just keep moving. Question 69. Should I force my dog to meet other dogs? No. Some dogs are introverted. Just like people, some dogs just don't like other dogs. So if your dog's happy to go over and play with other dogs, it's always a nice way to give them that fulfillment. But you don't want to force a dog to really do anything. If you force a dog, then they see it as a negative instead of a positive. So even if you wanted them to be able to play with other dogs, if you wanted to teach them it, you don't want to force them into it because that force adds pressure to it and then they see it as a negative anyway. Question 70. How do I socialise a rescue dog? The same way you socialise any other dog. You take them in all these different social settings and you teach them what's socially acceptable. You're not allowed to go up to this person. You're not allowed to run over to this dog. Just stay calm, stay next to me, and stay relaxed. And then on your terms, as the owner, you can say, okay, this is a person you can meet, or this is a dog you could go over and play with. It's the same. So many people have rescue dogs and think that because they've been through what they've been through, or because they've had different owners, you've got to change the training completely. A dog is a dog. So, yeah, it might take a little longer because of the life he's had or because of what he's been through, but you socialise in the same way as you socialise a pup, or as you socialise a dog you've had your whole life, or as you socialise a rescue dog. Question 71. Why does my dog love some dogs and hate other dogs? Well, this is because of the signs that we don't see as people. As a dog trainer, I see it quite often. I can see a dog in the distance, or I can see something and I can be like, my dog's not going to like that because he's doing this, 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 and this. But the problem is owners naturally only really know the major signs. So they know the barking, the growling, the teeth showing, and maybe hackles. So obviously if we see a dog and they're growling their teeth, we can assume that our dog's not going to like that dog because that dog looks aggressive. But some of the other signs that most owners don't see, some dogs will be displaying, we don't see it, but our dog does, and then our dog will react to it. So it's always important when you've got a dog, Try and understand all the major and minor signs that a dog can show that they're either happy, aggressive, uncomfortable, just whatever. And if you can understand them, it's like you can read your dog's mind and read any dog's mind because you can see what they're actually trying to tell you. Now, question 72. Should I rescue or buy a puppy? Now, if you've been online, you've seen people saying, adopt, don't shop. Don't buy a puppy. You should rescue one because they're in a shelter and blah, blah, blah. Listen, you need to enjoy the time you spend with your dog. And if rescuing a dog means that you're not going to be able to be comfortable around them because you don't know what they've been through or you don't know what their past is, then you need to get a puppy. You need to buy one, do whatever. Because it's your journey with your dog. So you shouldn't feel guilt tripped into owning one or getting a rescue just because people say that's what's right. You need to enjoy the time you spend with your dog. So if the way you can do that is by raising them as a puppy, that's what you got to do then. Now, if you've got a bit more experience, or if you just want a dog for the sake of having a dog, you don't want a specific breed or something, then yeah, rescue. Go in there, see what dog needs a bit of help, and rescue it. But don't feel guilt tripped into rescuing a dog just because that's what people say is right. If you want a Rottweiler and you want to make sure that you know the parents, you know what the genetics are like, and you know what the parents act like, that's what you got to do. I've done it with my dogs. Some of my dogs I've rescued, some of my dogs I've bought. Like, it doesn't really matter. You need to be able to enjoy the time you spend with your dog. And if you're not going to enjoy the time you spend with them just because they're a rescue and you don't know what they've been through, then don't do it. But if you just want a dog for the sake of having a dog, then just go up to the shelter and rescue one. Question 73. How long does it take a rescue dog to settle in? And this really just depends. How long's a piece of string? It's easy for me to give you a rough time, but the more you can kind of give them structure and the more you can give them guidance, the quicker they're going to settle and the quicker they're going to get it. If you just let them have free roam of the house and you don't put no rules in place and you don't do nothing, it's going to take them ages to settle. And that's if they ever will settle. Give them structure, show them that you're the leader, and put boundaries in place, and they're going to love you for it. Question 74. Should I treat a rescue dog differently? No, you shouldn't. A dog's a dog. They still need structure, they still need boundaries, and they still need to see you as the leader. So whether they're a rescue or a pup or a dog family pet that you've had for 10 years, they still need to know them things. Question 75. How do I build trust with a rescue dog? Well, what you need to do to build trust with any dog is give them their primitive essentials, and they need to see that they can get them from you. And the primitive essentials are protection, food, and shelter. So you show them that you give them protection by taking them out on a walk and teaching them an assumed hill. When they see that you're the leader of a walk, the leader's job is to protect. So they're naturally, even without you protecting them, they're going to see you as that protector. So that's the protection side of it. Now you need to worry about the food. With the food, what you need to do is show them that you're the one that supplies it. So instead of just putting it in a bowl, because then that takes you out of the equation, they just see the food as theirs. What you need to do is hand feed them. And they see that without you, they wouldn't get the food. So this builds your trust because you're the one giving it to them. And the last thing you need to give them is shelter. And obviously they live with you, so that's quite obvious. So if you control the food by hand feeding, you control the shelter by giving them somewhere to sleep, and you control the walk, or you give them protection by controlling the walk, then they're naturally going to trust you because they see you as a leader. My rescue dog was abused. Does that change the training? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. In some ways, yes, because obviously you have to work on building their trust, building their respect, and building their confidence. But in other ways, no. They're still a dog. They still need the primitive essentials. They still need trust, respect, and love. So just try not to, something I tell a lot of people is try not to treat a rescue dog differently just because of what they've been through. Don't feel sorry for them because that's not what they need. They need strong leadership from you. That's all they need. If you feel sorry for them so you let them get away with more, then that just puts more insecurity on their head because they think they're the leader. They're like, oh, I'm the leader because he gives me all these luxuries, gives me all this, and he's not giving me no leadership. He's not acting like a leader. I guess that must be my job then. They panic more, they worry more, and then it's not a good life for them. So you need to treat them like you would any dog. I'm the leader, I'm in charge, you have to trust and respect me, everything's going to be good. If you can do that, they're going to love you for it because they see you as the leader, and the leader has all the burden on their shoulders. They have to protect, they've got to hunt, they've got to find shelter. They don't want to have to deal with all that, but if they think they're the leader, that's what they're going to be thinking about. So because we supply it anyway, let's show them we're the leader, let's show them we supply all that stuff, then their life's going to be good. Question 77. Is it harder to train a rescue dog than a puppy? Yeah, but not for the reasons you think. A rescue dog's had years and years of learning all the wrong stuff. So it's not the fact that because they're a rescue they're bad or they're harder to train. It's just the fact that a puppy's a blank canvas. So you can teach them all the right stuff the first time. With an older dog, you've got to undo the years of bad behaviour and then show them what you actually want from them. So whether they're a rescue or just an older dog, a puppy's easier to train than both. Question 78. What does submissive actually mean? Now, submissive, especially when it comes to a dog, means trust. So if a dog's being submissive, they're saying, okay, I trust you. That's all it really is. So let's say if a dog's on their back and they're showing you their belly, they're being submissive because they're saying, I trust that you're not going to kill me. Because this is a difficult situation for me to get out of. I'm on my back, so it takes me a lot of time to get up. I'm showing you all my organs. So if you wanted to kill me, you could. But because I trust you, because I respect you, I'm being submissive towards you. I'm putting myself in this situation to show you that I trust you. That's all submissive really is. Question 79. What does your dog actually mean when it yawns? Well, if your dog's tired, they're yawning because they're tired. Don't think too much into it. But if your dog's not tired, they're being submissive. And like we said earlier, being submissive is their way of saying that they trust you. If your dog trusts you, what they're going to do is they're going to put themselves in a position where they seem weaker than you to say, like, there's no ego here. Don't worry, I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm weaker. And a way for a dog to do that is by yawning. They're saying, look, I'm tired. I look tired. If a dog's tired, they're not going to be as quick. They're not going to be as impulsive. They're not going to be as good to kind of defend themselves. So they're saying, look, I'm tired. Don't worry about me. We're friends. Question 79. What's your dog actually saying when it yawns? Well, obviously, if your dog's tired, they're yawning because they're tired. But if they're not, they're showing you that they trust you. For a dog, they're quite survival based. So where they show trust is by putting themselves in a position where they seem weaker. So that can be turning their back to you because you could sneak up on them and attack them. That could be laying on their back so their organs are shown and so they can't get up quickly. And it can also be yawning because they're showing you that they're tired. And when they're tired, they're slower, their reflexes aren't as good, so they won't be able to defend themselves as well. So when your dog yawns, even though they're not tired, they're telling you like, oh, look at me, I'm weaker, I'm tired, don't worry about it. Shows that they trust you. Question 80. What's something that you'll never teach your own dog? Well, personally, I don't teach my dogs to go in between my legs. Listen, if your dog knows that whenever they want a reward, they go in between your legs, they're going to end up trying to trip you up all the time, they're knocking into you, it's just not fun. Like, I find it a lot more comfortable just having a dog next to you. Still not pulling, still not reacting, still not misbehaving, but they're not in between your legs. Like, I get the appeal to it, it does look cool. You know, you see these army dogs doing it, and you see these other dogs on Instagram doing it, and it is cool. And obviously, I've taught some of my dogs it. That's how I know I don't like it. But personally, it's not a bit of me. Question 81. What does a wagging tail really mean? Well, a lot of people think that a wagging tail just means the dog's happy. And in some cases, that's right, but not all the time. A wagging tail just means that a dog's overly a certain emotion. So that could be overly happy, overly excited, overly nervous, overly cautious. So if your dog's tail is wagging like mad, it just means they're quite emotional. Question 82. What does it mean when a dog goes stiff and still? Well, this means that they're uncomfortable. And in most cases, it means they're thinking about biting you. If they're stiff and still and they're kind of side-eyeing you, they're probably thinking about biting. Question 83. Why does my dog lick his lips when I tell it off? Well, a lot of the time, licking lips can be submissive. It's like them saying, like, I know you're the boss. Yeah, right. I'm licking my lips. I'm calm. I'm a bit like surrendering to you. Like, you're the boss. Sweet. I'm letting you know that. But also, it can mean that they're uncomfortable. So if you're telling them off a bit too intensely for what they've done, then in their mind, they're like, oh, calm down. So they're trying to calm the situation just by being submissive. Question 84. How do I know if two dogs are playing or actually fighting? A lot of the time, you can tell by how loud they're being. A lot of the time, the quieter they are, the more aggressive they are. If it goes completely quiet and they look like they're fighting, then they probably are. But if they look like they're fighting, but they're being loud and whatever, I wouldn't stress too much. And obviously, this changes between dogs and all of that. But for a rough kind of guide, if your dogs are being loud, the odds are they're just playing. Question 85. Does my dog actually feel guilty? Probably not. A lot of the time, they just think cause and effect. So they're not thinking like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Let's say if you've always told your dog off for weeing in the house. They see a puddle of wee on the floor. They don't think, I weed, so it's there, and now he's going to tell me off. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. He thinks, I remember the last time there was a puddle on the floor, he told me off. So I don't like it. So then they get more submissive or they get more nervous. Which is why timing's so important. You need to make sure that you catch it as soon as it happens. So as soon as your dog pulls, you tell them off. Or as soon as they react, you tell them off. Because then it's obvious what they're doing wrong. If you give it too long, then they might look guilty, but that's because they don't understand the situation. They don't understand what you're telling them off for. They just understand that normally in this situation he tells me off, but they don't see what they've done wrong in the situation. So timing's quite important. But yeah, dogs don't really feel guilty. Question 86. Do dogs get jealous? Yeah, more often than you think, actually. I actually get it quite often that couples will come to me and they'll say, oh, whenever I try to cuddle him, my dog runs in the way and tries to break it up. Which is just your dog saying, like, I want your attention. Don't give it to him, give it to me. As well, you get it if you're trying to stroke another dog. Your dog might run over and try and nudge that dog out of the way or try and get in the way of your hand so you end up stroking them. Question 87. Why does my dog get the zoomies? Well, what happens is they have pent up energy, and then when they're excited and when they're happy, that all gets put somewhere, and that's the zoomies. So when they're running all over the place, it means they could probably do more of a walk, but also it means that they're happy around you and they trust you. Question 88. Why does my dog eat grass? Well, it can either be because they're not getting enough nutrition from their diet, so just look at it, make sure they're getting enough of everything. Or it could just be that That's just who they are. Some dogs, like my dog Diesel, he just likes eating grass. His diet's fine. Everything about him is fine. He just likes eating grass. Question 89. Can dogs tell when you're sad? Yeah, they can. Dogs are actually better at picking up on these things than we are as people. Because dogs have never learned how to speak and things like that. So they focus so much on body language. What we do as people is we kind of forget about a lot of the body language signs because we can speak and we can speak about how we feel. So a lot of the body language signs that naturally we'd learn, we don't learn because we can speak our way through things. Dogs never had to do that. So when our body posture is a little different or when we're walking a little slower than normal, they pick up on things like that. So they can tell when we're sad or when we're overly happy or when we're ill. Like, dogs are better at picking up on it than we are as people. Question 90. Why does my dog follow me everywhere? Well, dogs are naturally pack animals. Dogs want to be in a group. So unless you teach them that it's all right to be separate, they're going to want to follow you everywhere because that's just what's normal to them. So I always say with a dog that follows you everywhere, it's good to try and teach them a strong place command or a strong crate command, because then they can learn that, oh, it's all right to be away from you. Because what you don't want is a dog to follow you everywhere and then you got to go shopping. So then they're at home panicking, like, oh, where's mum? Where's dad? Or when you got to go to work. You don't want a dog at home panicking or worrying where you are. So teach them that it's all right to be separate, even when you're home. Question 91. Do dogs dream? Yeah, they do, but they don't dream how we dream. In how we dream is like made up scenarios or whatever, but how dogs dream is more about their personal experiences. And actually, a dog will dream within 3 minutes of falling asleep. So pretty much as soon as they shut their eyes, they're dreaming. But they're dreaming about, oh, when I met this dog, this happened, or when I did this, this happened. So a way that we actually try to structure training with our own dogs is we'll try to train them and give them that physical and mental fulfillment, and then we'll put them in their crate to have a sleep. Because then they're thinking about the session they just had. Oh, when I sat down, he gave me a treat. Oh, when I pulled, he told me off. When he did this, he did that. So then when it's the time for your next session, it's like they've had a session in their own mind just by dreaming. Question 92. Do you have to walk a dog? Well, every day a dog needs physical fulfillment and mental fulfillment. You could do that by walking them, by playing with them, by training them, and there's a whole other bunch of ways. So it's up to you. You don't have to walk them every day, but that doesn't mean you get a day off. That means you've got to train them, you've got to play with them, you've got to play scent games with them, you've got to give them something else that's going to fulfill them mentally and physically. Because if you don't, like I said, they're going to go mental. Question 93. Can an old dog learn new tricks? Yeah, they can. And actually, a lot of the time, they can actually learn better than some of the younger dogs. Younger dogs are more impulsive and they're more bouncy and their head's going 100 miles an hour. So they'll be more engaged in a session, but how much they pick up depends on the dog. With an older dog, if you find the right incentives for them and you teach them the right way, what can happen is they can pick it up quicker because they haven't got all the energy. They're using less of their physical energy and more of their mental energy. So they're thinking things through more because they don't want to get it wrong. Question 94. How do I train a dog that's picked up bad habits over the years? Well, all you really need to do is restructure things. Try not to think too much about the past. They've been through it, it shaped them, but don't worry about it. What you need to do is worry about getting it right now. So let's say if you've had a dog that's always pulled you. Yeah, that's happened. They've had 5 years of pulling. But what you need to do is restructure it so they know that when they pull, they get told off, and when they're next to you, they get praised. So then everything in their mind saying, oh, I want to start walking next to him now. That's all you got to do, whether they've been pulling for 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years. You just need to restructure it so they know that pulling doesn't work anymore. Now I have to do this. It's not just pulling either. I use that example, but any time that a dog's misbehaved or doesn't know something, you just need to restructure it, let them know that that doesn't work anymore, so now you got to behave. Question 95. My older dog's getting grumpy. Is that normal? It's actually quite common. They've got less energy now. They can't be bothered as much. So they're more grumpy. But it depends what you mean by grumpy. If you're going over to them and they start growling at you, that's a problem. That's something you've got to work on. But if it's just, you try and get them out of bed and they can't be bothered, don't stress. Question 96. How do I introduce a puppy to my older dog? Well, what you really want to do is introduce them on a walk. So why don't you take one lead, why don't you take another, and just walk together. I don't want them face-to-face meeting yet. I want them to think that they're already part of a pack before they had that head-on introduction. Because this way they've kind of got a bit of common ground. They like each other already a bit. They see themselves as familiars, so then they're happier to meet. So walk them for a bit, get them walking nicely, don't let them meet yet. After 10, 15, 20 minutes, then let them meet head on. Because now they already know each other a bit, they've already picked up on each other's smells, they know how each other works. So it's less like introducing two strangers, it's more like introducing two family members or colleagues or whatever. Question 97. How did I get into dog training? Well, actually, I just joined the family business. My granddad used to train dogs. He used to train them to a police level. He used to do a lot of personal protection stuff. Then my dad kind of joined him. And then as I got older, I got more and more involved with the dogs. And then here I am now. Question 98. What's the biggest mistake dog owners make? Now, I'll be honest, there's a lot of them because we're not dogs. We don't understand dogs how dogs understand dogs. So unless you learn, you don't know. But I'd say probably the biggest mistake a lot of dog owners make is talking to them too much. To a dog, they don't understand what we're saying to them. So by you talking all the time, you just dilute how much weight your voice has. So then when you give a command, they don't know if you're telling them to do something or if you're just complaining about Sandra at work. So obviously you can talk to them. Obviously you can give them all this. But a lot of the time, especially if your dog's misbehaving, try not to talk to them as much. Just because you want them to know that when you say something, it actually has meaning behind it. Question 99. What breed do I recommend? Well, I'll be honest, it really depends what you want from a dog. But if you want a good all-rounder, probably your best bet's a Staff. They're friendly, they're bubbly, they're good with the children. They're known as the nanny breed because of how soft they are. Literally, their only problem really is that they can be a bit dog reactive because they're bred to be a fighting dog. But you go to the right trainer, they'll get that sorted quick. So yeah, probably a Staff. Question 100. What breed is the hardest to train? Now, I don't think there is like a specific breed that's the hardest to train. I think it's more about the personality of a dog. Some dogs really do well with certain areas of training and struggle with other areas. But if I had to say one breed that was probably the hardest to train, I'd probably say a Husky. Because a lot of the people that come to me because their dog pulls them. And because Huskies have been bred to be pullers, when you try and tell them off for pulling, it kind of confuses them genetically. So they still learn, they still get it, but maybe it can take a little longer for them. So yeah, I'd probably say the Husky. Now, the final question. Question 101. What do I want every single dog owner to know? What I want you to know is any dog can be helped. It doesn't matter if they're old, if they're young, if they're big, if they're small, if they're fast-paced, if they're stubborn, whatever. Any dog can be helped. Your dog's not a bad dog. They just don't know what the rules are yet. If you can find someone who actually knows what they're doing, any dog can behave. And like how we do it is we flip it so we make dogs think that they want to behave. We don't make it a chore. We don't force them into it because if it's a chore, they're not going to want to do it. We flip the script and we make them think that it was their idea to behave in the first place. So then going forward, when they're given the choice, they're going to choose to behave. So that's all 101 questions. If you made it this far, you might as well subscribe now. If you've got any more questions, drop them in the comments, or if there's anything you want me to go into more detail on, just let me know in the comments and I'll get to it. I'll see you in the next video.